Here's the thing I noticed with social media trolls, especially in political conversations and cultural conversations, where stuff like cancel culture comes up and presidential elections come up. A lot of pro-Trump profiles. If you look at these profiles, even on YouTube now, I've seen a lot of them come up on YouTube. Where if you look at these profiles, they're like empty profiles, right? Now, I'm a moderate Democratic voter, right? I'm not a politician. I'm not a Democratic politician. I appreciate the Democratic Party because I know what they're about. The Republican Party, I could only say I wish I could understand them and know what they're about, right? And the way I am, like 4 years from now, Republicans have a solid plan for making America great for everyone. Not just a slogan, but a plan where I could see points of interest and see procedures of getting things done without executive orders and yelling and shouting, and bipartisan support in some aspects. I would vote Republican easily, right? I'm not tattooed with a Democratic insignia on my chest. I don't have any tattoos of a political party on my body, right? I could switch if it works for me, and that's how I am. That's how I think most voters should be. Political parties aren't the be-all, end-all to your personality and your livelihood, right? So these trolls on YouTube and social media trolls, there's the leaders. There's the Ben Shapiro, there's the Tatum, there's Candace Owens, and the Fox News group. But under them, there's like millions of just empty channels, empty Twitter accounts where people pop up and say something, pop up and say something, pop up and say something. And then I respond to some of them, and then I'm like, let me click and see. Now I'm working from home. I have all this time to like do silly things like this. And I click on a lot of these channels, and if I click and say, I give you a perfect example the other day. Sunday, I was home in the morning, just clicking through some stuff. I was like, let me click on some of these and see what these people are about. And you see profiles like American Patriot, American this, American that. And normally if you click on a Twitter profile or a Facebook or something, you can see family pictures. You can kind of see, even if you're not friends with them, you can see this person has all the friends that are doing things and they're doing things. But if you click on these profiles, if there's 100 of these profiles, you click on all hundreds, you'll see, whether it's Twitter, even YouTube, you'll see maybe 98 of them out of the 100 are just them Trump, 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 Trump. Trump, 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 Trump. And after like maybe 2000, going back before 2016 or 2017, they didn't exist, right? Or even before November elections of last year, they didn't exist. These profiles were non-existent. But Trump, 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 Trump. And you look at where they're posting, it's all political, like Trump is the president still, and election fraud, and this, that, and this, that, and it's Biden's dogs is really ugly. You know, it's weird political things. There's nothing else about these people. You look at my profile, you see my wife, my kids, you see my employment, where I work, you see what I'm about. I've done other things besides politics and talk about politics. The only reason this channel exists is because of Trump's presidency. One comedian said, Trump has done more for civil rights than Martin Luther King. If you think about that, right? Because of the Trump presidency, people like me have come out and said, this isn't right. What I'm seeing with Trump isn't right. That's not America. I'm going to speak out against that. I'm going to become active politically. I'm going to become active in my community. I'm going to get people to vote, right? So Trump, by his negative energy or nonsensical energy, created people like me, right? And that's the whole yin and the yang if you study Asian, Western, Eastern philosophy, right? When you have a weight over here, some sort of pressure over here creates a counter pressure over there, right? You have all this energy from Donald Trump and that, his aspect and whatever he's about, you have all that energy from him. You have this counter energy that's created because of that, right? Just like comic book villains, right? You can't have the Joker without Batman. You can't have Batman without the Joker, right? It's kind of, if you think about that. So I'm here because of that Trump presidency, and I'm not trying to be successful because of it. I don't need to be successful because of it. I'm glad I don't rely on this to be successful or be heard. I don't care if anyone sees this. This is really basically, I do this for my kids. So 30, 40 years from now, when my kids are like, what happened in 2020 and 2021, Dad? a grandpa or whatever, I'll be like, just look at my YouTube channel and you see what I spoke about. A lot of it is political, but a lot of it is just common sense life stuff, right? Yeah, so these political people, don't argue with them, just ignore them. They'll go away and they'll reappear in 3 years when the next presidential election comes around. And they want you guys all to vote against your interests and vote Republican because we're a gang and you have to stick with us. Or don't vote Democratic, and you'll see them come up. And the best quote I heard coming out of the election and last year and the whole insurrection in the Capitol was that, Joe Biden is president now, but a lot of people, 90%, 100% of people that voted for Biden, or even like a Bernie Sanders, we're not going to put flags on our lawn and bumper stickers in our cars and wave flags around for the next 4 years with Biden's name on it and wear a hat and t-shirts. Because we're not like that. That's not what politics is about. It's not a gang mentality. It's not, I'm always right and you're always wrong. It's not spy versus spy. It's people's livelihoods, right? 500,000 people died last year, right? Because of this idiotic, myopic outlook on politics, right? Politics is not about me, and my party and my gang and my what I want. It's about what's right for everyone, right? And if the president you voted for said, "Oh, coronavirus," exactly a year ago, probably this week, he was on TV saying COVID is a hoax by the. First, it was the Democrats. The Democrats. It's a hoax by the Democrats. Then it was a hoax by the Chinese. It's a hoax. It's a hoax. It's a hoax. It's not true. Then it was like, oh, you don't have to wear a mask. Oh, it'll go away. And if that's the leader that you guys elected, right? And there's a guy that tries to troll me. And I always shut him down where I said, like, you voted for a guy that drew fake lines on a map, a weather map, to lie about the weather, right? The commander-in-chief, right? Think about what a commander-in-chief is, right? And that person is drawing fake lines on a weather map, right? And lying about the weather that we all saw go that way when he said, no, it went that way. And we all saw it go that way. And he's still lying about that, right? That's the guy you guys voted for. Not once, but twice, right? You can't tell me anything about that. You can't tell me anything, right? Because if that's the guy you support, then we can't have a conversation as adults, right? It's going to be condescending. I'm going to be very condescending to you because I'm going to, one, have to find out where your mind is at before we could even have a adult conversation, right? I have to find out if this person's not even on my mental level, but just mentally fit to have a conversation, right? Think about that. You're promoting a guy that's drawing fake lines on a map. And that's not even the worst of what Trump did. That's the only thing that I think that bothered me. And that was my Trump moment, my Trump video that I said that bothered me more than all the things I think about the guy. Because as a commander-in-chief, right? Think about a military commander, right? Like a George Washington. Can you imagine if George Washington was drawing fake lines on a map? Or any great general in history is drawing fake lines on a map to tell his troops where to go into battle, and then they die because these lines that he's generating are fake. Think about the implications of that, right? As a country, as a great country, your commander-in-chief is drawing fake lines on a map, and you're gonna not only defend him, but vote for him and then promote him to me? I have to make sure you're mentally fit to have a conversation with me first, right? It's like if I see my daughter eating glue and crayons, right? And she wants to have a conversation with me about, oh, Daddy, I want to drive a car. And she's eating glue and crayons. I'm like, I need to make sure you're mentally fit to drive cars first, right? Because you're the glue and crayon eating level right now. And that's how I look at people like that. Not to put them down, but like I said in my last couple videos, take responsibility for your actions, right? If I'm putting a flag on my lawn of a guy that's drawing fake lines on a map, I have to be responsible for my actions when someone like me comes up and say, well, what's about this guy that's so appealing? He's lying to people day in and day out. Where's your mind at with this guy? Like, seriously, don't politicize it. Don't just tell me how you feel about that, right? If that was your spouse or your husband or your wife or your parents that's lying to you the way this guy is lying to you guys, how would you feel about them? Would you still be married? Would you still be, in the house with your parents? Would you, think about that, right? All right, guys. See you in the next one. Bye. I love doing these videos, by the way, guys. I have two other YouTube channels where I do very more successful than this one, where I do gear reviews, and then I work in cars. Believe it or not, I'm a man of many talents, but this is the most fun because I think this is like honey to flies and trolls on the internet. They flock to these captions that I put up, and they're like, oh, what's this guy talking about? And when they find out I'm not talking about what they want to hear, they troll me. So it's fine, but 100 years from now, people are gonna look back on these videos and be like, yeah.